John Combs, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt, won this last ADCC North American Trials. 7 matches. Easton Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt.
Sir.
I've seen you come up and seen you. I started watching. I guess started watching at Brown Belt.
Yes, sir.
At the Abu Dhabi Pro Trials.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw you. I kind of had seen you, but then I was there. And so I started watching all your matches, and I started watching you submit everybody.
Yeah,
and just smash everybody. And I was like, who is this guy? And I see this Easton BJJ patch on the gi. I was like, oh, okay. And then you won your trip, right? You won your weight and then the open weight, and that was remarkable. How many years ago was that?
So that would have been the beginning of 2016. That was my breakout year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like at the end of 2015, I won a fight to win as a brown belt versus a black belt. And then at the beginning of 2016, I won that Abu Dhabi trial, and that was really the beginning of all because I graduated school in 2015 as well, right at the end of that year. And I've been full blast jiu-jitsu since then. And yeah, that was really the first big breakout moment. And the rest of that year was, I mean, in my opinion, 2016 was my best year so far, at least in jiu-jitsu.
So you moved to Colorado for college, right?
Yes, sir.
But where you from originally?
So I was born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh,
but
okay.
I moved away when I was 6, so I don't remember too much of it.
Okay.
And then came out here to Agora Hills, which is just west of the valley, and moved here in 2000, I believe. So I think I was in 4th grade for sure, and went all the way through 4th grade to high school, and then graduated high school. It was kind of like, what's next? And saw that CU Boulder had a club wrestling team, and I was like, well, heck, let's try it out. And
so you wrestled in high school?
Yes, I wrestled for 4 years in high school, and that definitely set the board for my eventual love with jiu-jitsu. And I feel very confident that my time with wrestling set the whole board for me to interact with jiu-jitsu and fall for it as hard as I have. Yeah.
Nice. And what did you go to study when you moved to Colorado?
So I actually, when I first started, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I mean, to some degree, I still don't. But I started studying political science. So I did that for about year and a half, and then transitioned to integrative physiology, which is like pre-med, sports medicine, kinesiology, everything like that, very similar. And changed things up and put an extra year on the time I spent in college. So I should have been class of 2013, and then I ended up graduating in 2015. Yeah, so I also took a year off in there to study some emergency medicine as well. Yeah, so I had my EMTB for a couple of years there, but then you need to.
What made you change?
It was actually a conversation with my mom. She did not think highly of political science in terms of career potentials, and I agreed with her.
Okay.
And she said, "Oh, you should go into integrative physiology, get your go from there and into nursing school, and that'll lead to a better life for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll give this a shot." I really didn't know what to do.
Yourself a 9 to 5.
Yeah,
or whatever
like
the hours are, right?
Yeah. And actually at the end of 2015, I had an interview with one of the more prestigious nursing schools in Colorado at Anschutz Medical Center.
Oh, wow.
And it did not go well. It went really bad. They asked me, as a guy going into nursing, how does that make you feel? And I had no answer for it. And after being done with that wretched interview day, I just kind of decided, man, I don't think this is so much for me. I'm going to see what I can do with this whole jiu-jitsu, martial arts thing. And then that first fight to win match went amazing. It was a great day for me. And decided, all right, let's give this a shot, see where it goes. From the beginning of 2016 till now, the beginning of 2020, I haven't really looked back. It's been full bore into martial arts.
That's almost 4 years, right?
Yeah, exactly 4 years. Yeah. It's been a good long time. And now I've had my black belt for 3.5. And yeah, I remember a Flow Grappling article came out. They were talking about me before one of the matches, and they said, now a veteran of the sport. And I'm like, wow, shoot. Somehow, somewhere that did happen. I am a veteran of sports jiu-jitsu now, even at the black belt level.
Yeah.
It's,
wow.
Yeah, it feels good to really take a step back and realize that I've been doing this for quite some time now.
So you wrestled in high school, and then is that what made you go into Easton's BJJ and do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So,
or was that the first time you did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So I dabbled a little bit in high school. There was a group of people that did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with this individual, Alan Zabrowski, in the
I know.
Valley.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
what was it called?
Z-Force.
Z-Force, right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So I dabbled a little bit in high school. Did a little bit of it. One match that actually really made me pursue jiu-jitsu.
Is he still there?
No, he's actually become a nurse.
Oh, wow, okay.
World full of irony. And so his student, Jonathan Licknicki, he like said, oh, dude, let's wrestle. And I was like, okay. So I blast doubled him down to the ground, and then he put me in a Kimura and then put my arm behind my back. And I was shocked because it was way bigger, way stronger than him. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be able to do something to him to put him down on his back, and then I'll put him in his place, do something. And he ended up Kimura-ing me rather easily. And that really shocked me. And I decided from then, man, I got to learn this stuff. And, dabbled a little bit in high school, and then became infatuated with the idea of being an MMA fighter. So that was the main catalyst.
So did you go as a freshman? Did you go into
yes,
to start jiu-jitsu officially?
Officially, yes. So my first semester, I started with the club wrestling team, and I saw a lot of the stickers for Easton Training Center around campus, and was very interested in it, wanted to check it out, but for whatever reason, the first semester, I never got around to it. And then, at the beginning of the second semester, on January 12th, 2010, I walked into Easton's and tried to sign up right away. And the lady and whoever's working the front desk was like, "Oh no, you got to take the class and then come back and talk to us." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And went through the whole class. I think this guy Tor Lewis taught my orientation. And
you remember the name, huh?
Yeah. Tor's a good guy.
I always tell people, like, man, they're never gonna forget their first class.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll never forget you.
Yeah. And then the one thing that I've actually
is he still training?
Tor, no. I think he was the manager for about a year or two, then the tides came and somebody else took over. I think it was Mike Tusignan who took over after him. But the one thing I vividly do remember from those days, and it's something I've tried to really incorporate as an instructor, is remembering people's names. And there was actually one individual, Brian Carlson, who remembered my name, and I remember him saying, "Hey, John," or something had doing with my name, and I just remember that made me feel really good. And I dabbled in it for a couple weeks, and then the rest of that semester was rough, and I didn't really train quite as much as I would have liked to. But that was
rough because of
just
school
some
and
personal
life.
stuff happened,
Gotcha.
and things that maybe we'll get into that another date. But it kind of pushed me in a rough direction, so I didn't really dabble that much in jiu-jitsu. And then after I put that semester behind me, I went home and started training every day. So I left Colorado with a one-stripe white belt, and then over the summer I trained every day, and then I was doing community college. And then once I finished up my community college classes, I started doing it twice a day. And so it was all I was doing. That was kind of the beginning of my addiction to jiu-jitsu.
Obsession.
Yeah, obsession's a better word for it. Obsession's a much better word for it. And as I went through the summer, I started to get considerably better. Like I remember my first few classes, because this Z-Force is the type of gym where you train no matter what. You don't need no two-stripe white belt. If you step on the mats, you're going to train, which I think for most people is the wrong formula. But for me, it was great because I got to walk out there, and as a cocky wrestler, I got submitted 40, 50 times. Every time I stepped out there, and it was great. It was an amazing experience for me. And, after getting just thrashed for weeks, I finally started to develop some decent fundamentals. And funnily enough, they let me go compete as a blue belt in the Vegas Open over that summer. And
what year is this?
This was 2010.
2010, wow.
Yeah. So I went and did
it. I'm getting old, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But they let me do a tournament. And
2010,
won the first match, and then got my back taken, got choked in the second. But, still won a match at blue belt. And then I showed up in Boulder, and I won't say this instructor's name, but he's still working at Easton's. He's a great guy. I'll tell you after. But I'm training.
Throw him under the bus.
No, not too hard. But I'm training with him in front of all the other instructors, Maul, Elliot, James. They're all there watching. And I'm starting to get the better of him. And he looks at me and he's like, he was a blue belt at the time. I was a one-stripe white belt. And he's like, dude, do you want me to go 100%? And I was just like, Sure. Because, man, I've been training all summer. I had the one stripe, but I had, accrued. Yeah.
Plus your wrestling.
Exactly. And then actually, I went in another time at night, and Peter Straub was a blue belt. And after he trained with me, he was like, dude, you're very much ready for your 2-stripe. So Peter Straub gave me my 2-stripe. And then the rest of that semester, I disappeared. I did some wrestling, but I really didn't, train all that much. And then really recommitted back into wrestling. And then the wrestling really was what kind of took over. And I dabbled a little bit in wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but mainly for the most of that semester, I was back into wrestling. Didn't spend that much time in jiu-jitsu.
How was the wrestling club in Colorado?
Small. It was very small. Every wrestling club that I've been a part of from high school to college has always been a small team with a really amazing coach. I had this guy, Steve Bunch, who was a great mentor, really, honestly, probably a better mentor than a coach. Really helped push me into the right direction. I needed some direction. Then I was very much a loss. I think I was 19 then. Yeah, I think it would have been 19. And just really had no direction as to where I was going in life. And he kind of pushed me on the right path. And, it was a mentor that I needed at the time. And, excuse me. And then winter semester rolled around, started training jiu-jitsu a bunch again when I was back home because I didn't have anything else to do. And came back, I was ready, I was roaring, I was doing really well. And competed for my first time with Easton's as a white belt and went 8-0, smashed everybody, and then got my blue belt from Elliot. And It was a great experience. I remember taking my white belt off, throwing it on the mat.
You're an actual person now, right? Why people? You're like, a guy remembered my name. That's what I remembered.
Throw it on the belt, and then Elliot yells something at me, and I got my blue belt, and then that that was the real beginning of the journey, man. That was a really awesome time. And I spent, it was like 3 years at blue belt.
You're the legit jiu-jitsu blue belt.
Blue belt. Yeah, man. Yeah, so it was. Yeah, it was fun. I got my blue belt from there, and then it was kind of a dabbling of back and forth. How'd
you manage college and jiu-jitsu?
Not well. There were semesters where I'd have to really concentrate a lot on studies, and there were other semesters where I was able to do more jiu-jitsu. So take spring semester of 2011, so that would have been right when I got my blue belt. I was doing a bit of jiu-jitsu, but I did focus more on wrestling, and I actually All-Americaned that year. I got fourth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got fourth at NCWA wrestling. So, that's mine for all time.
Nice.
And, so that was really fun. And then went back over the summer, trained some more jiu-jitsu, and then the semester when I came back, they focused on my academics a lot and did a bit of jiu-jitsu, not so much. And then 2012 was a year I was really, really started to commit to jiu-jitsu again because wrestling did not go so great. A bunch of high Division I teams dropped down to club, and I got beat up by those guys pretty good. So I did not place in nationals my junior year in 2012, but that, left a sour taste in my mouth because I remember I got beat in the blood round, the round before I would have placed.
Right.
And, didn't get a medal, didn't get anything. I remember we went to some fancy dinner in Florida, and it was the most tasteless steak and just this foul dessert that I'm sure would have been amazing if I were to have it right now, but it just tasted like ash in my mouth. And, I got done with that, and I was like, I'm not done competing. I want more. And I actually went to Pan Am's 2 weeks after that and got my first cauliflower ear. It was great. I got put in a triangle.
You never got cauliflower ear in wrestling,
we would wear headgear.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I never got cauliflower ear. And then my first major IBJJF Jiu-Jitsu tournament was Pan Am's 2012 at blue belt. And got slapped into a triangle and tried to free my head and ended up tapping. And then I look, I'm like, oh my God, I had a banana slug in my ear. And that, that really made me hungry for it. And I just wanted to keep competing. So continued to, for whatever reason, I couldn't go to, no, I don't think I was able to do Worlds that year. I don't think I did. But I did win a tournament in Vegas in 2012. So that was sort of like my big.
An IBJJF one.
Yes. But that led to a knee infection that led to me having to get a surgery that led to me stopping grappling for about 18 months. Yeah.
That was your first surgery?
Mm-hmm. Well. Yep. And to this date, pretty much the only one. I've had minor things that I've had to get done, but this was really the big surgery that happened for me. And that led to me in that fall semester.
How did you hurt your knee?
So I got a cut in my foot. And then...
so that was an infection.
Yeah, and it spread to my knee somehow because I was walking around in Vegas in sandals. And I get a little water on my knee, like I got some water on my knee on this side. And I had the same thing happen over there. Didn't think anything of it because I've had it before and I have it right now, and it's never that big of a problem. But it just kept swelling more and more until eventually I got done. I had a moving job then. And I got done with the moving job, and I had put my leg up, and I was just sitting around, and I like looked at my knee, and I felt this like boom, boom, like painful pulse, and I was like, "Oh boy, hospital." Went to the ER, and they tested it, and they're like, "Okay, it's infected, but it's probably not that big of a deal. We're going to give you these." It was MRSA.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they called me in kind of a panic, and they're like, "You need to get a surgery on this," and I was like, "Hey, oh my God!" So ended up going to see this fancy pants surgeon because my dad's really good friend is on the board at CU, or like knows some people at CU, so he was able to arrange this really good surgeon for me. And I went in to go see this guy, Dr. Lindeque, and he had this fancy bow tie on, and he took 2 seconds to look at me. He was like, "We have to operate." And I was like, "No, oh, okay." And so they put me in the hospital, they cleaned it up, and they just cut the dang thing open. Like, I'll show the scar here.
Damn.
Yeah, they just cut it open, took out the bursa, cleaned it out, and I remember sitting on the hospital bed.
All because some water got on.
It had been about 7.5 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, August 27th, 2012.
It's like a 6-inch. How many? It's a pretty big scar.
Yeah, it's a humongous scar. Yeah. And they
wide.
They took it out. I remember sitting on that table wondering if I'd ever do jiu-jitsu again. I didn't know, wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, missing the bursa sac, all it means, hopefully I won't have any long-term problems, but like the skin glides here, but the skin doesn't glide here. So that's like the main thing. And as long as I wear spats, I'm good. And, it took quite a while for that scar to heal. But eventually it did. And it was funny, that semester I was unable to do any jiu-jitsu, and my GPA was a 3.95. Like, aced calculus, aced a physics class that I was in, and then aced one other, a human physiology class. So I had the best college semester I'd had to date. And that was mainly because I couldn't do anything other than just studying. And it led to really good results when I committed myself to it, and I ended up doing really well in school.
Nice.
And so that was actually...
One good thing, right? One of my black belts, he tore his ACL. He's like, I don't think I would have, because he was doing MMA, amateur MMA. He was competing, and then of course like working and doing a bunch of things. And he's like, I wouldn't have finished college if I hadn't hurt my knee, Yeah. But he finished, so now he's got it, right?
Yeah, heck yeah, gotta have it. Remember looking at
some things are blessings in disguise in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And this may well have been. It slowed me down. Probably was a good thing. And so at the end of 2012, I took a year off from college because
year and a half, recovery.
Yeah, well, it was kind of when I took that year off from the end of 2012 until the beginning of 2014. I picked up a side job actually working at Red Robin.
Okay.
And then got my EMTB then too.
Red Robin.
Yeah, not the best first job, but it was a dishwasher busboy.
Okay.
So that was a good introduction to the service industry. And then I actually tried my luck as a line cook over the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was very busy. I was working in the restaurant. I was getting my EMTB. I took a EKG class. I learned how to do IVs on people, how to draw blood. So I was very busy over the summer. And then in that fall of 2013, I was just kind of exhausted from everything, and I slowly started to return to training then. But the problem was my scar wasn't fully healed. So it would open, and I'd have to give it weeks at a time for it to close again. And that was very frustrating. But towards the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, Easton Training Center, it was Mike Tusignant and James, they started up a comp team. So they're sort of like, we're going to be doing in the mornings, 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and on Saturdays. And so a bunch of guys in Boulder started to get together, and that was my real introduction to hard training, hard sparring, and that was really the beginning of my quest there, because it was right at the end of 2013, on November 9th, 2013, I got promoted to purple belt. And it was an awesome moment for me. Really enjoyed that. And then, beginning of 2014 rolls around, and that was the time when I really started to train hard. And I was actually... Was I in school then? No, I don't think I was. No, it wasn't quite then. I was actually off school for that 6 months there.
Okay.
So from January until July, all I was doing was training then. And that was a really awesome time for me. And then, so 2014, I think I did well at Pan Am's. I didn't place that year. No, I think I did place there. I think I got third at Pan Am's. And then I went to Worlds.
And Purple Belt.
At Purple Belt, yeah. And the Worlds was great. Worlds went really well. I made it to the semis. I had a match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a match against Gabriel Argus, the current world champion at middle. And it was a tight match. Like, he ended up beating me by 2 points, but I had an advantage. So if I'd been able to sweep him back, I would have had the win. And that was a real eye-opening moment for me.
He's current world champion. Yeah,
current world champion.
2-time, 3-time.
Yeah, at least 2.
Black belt.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah.
So that was a real eye-opening experience for me. It's like, man, I can hang in there with the best. Why not keep doing this? But at that time, that was when I had to recommit back to school. So at the end of the Worlds, I went back. I did a summer class, and then late 2014 in the fall semester, I did another semester heavy in school, so I wasn't training quite that much. And then 2015 rolls around, and as soon as school was done, I was back on the mats. And 2015 was kind of somewhat of a slow year. I did Pans and Worlds again. I got third at both of them, so I made it to the semis in both of those.
Oh, wow.
So those were both very good.
Is Purple Belt still?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was a Purple Belt. And then, so after that Worlds, I was kind of back in school, but I was also working as a CNA for a period in that time, which was probably not the best choice for me to do that, but it was just kind of seeing if I could, handle being the lowest tier of nursing. Maybe I could handle the rest of it. And did not enjoy that job at all, and did it for about a year. And so while I was doing that, I was finishing up school. And then also I got when I got my Purple Belt, I forgot about this. I started working at the Cork, which is a very upscale, fine establishment for steaks in Boulder.
Okay.
That was a fun job. I really enjoyed doing that.
Okay.
I was just a backweight there.
Fine dining.
Fine dining and breathing. So that was a really awesome time. So I was, doing actually quite a bit. I was, working as a CNA. I was working at the Cork. I was finishing up school. I was trying to train. And so 2015, the end of that spring semester 2015 was really busy for me. And that was when I had that interview for nursing school. That was when I won the fight to win. And that was when I made the decision that, screw all this education stuff. I'm going to become a martial artist. And then that took me to 2016, where, you saw me at the Abu Dhabi trials and led to everything else. And then, 2016, as I said before, was my favorite year of jiu-jitsu so far. Yeah.
What advice, I guess, or if you could have done it better, or you think you could have done it better, juggling college and jiu-jitsu?
Would have put a lot more value on my sleep. And that's something
recovery.
I've been really struggling with that a lot lately. Maybe in a little bit we can talk about the Whoop. I got one of these things, heart rate monitor.
Yeah.
But that would be the biggest thing that I would change, is I would go back.
It tracks the quality of sleep that you have.
It does a lot of checks my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate, tracks how much you're sleeping. Sometimes it gives you frustrating information. But it would have been a lot more emphasis on my sleep hygiene. That would have been number one. Number two would have been to try and get a workout in the morning. Try to value the early morning hours to where you can get productive work done. And then number three would be stay away from mind-altering substances as best you can, because that definitely has held me back in the past, and I'm sure it's going to be something, it's one of my goals in 2020 is to stay away from things that inhibit my forward momentum. Because I have a lot going for me right now, but I need to get out of my own way.
How do you think it held you back?
Interfered with my sleep, interfered with my studies.
We're talking about marijuana. Yeah.
And it really slowed a lot of the things down that I'm trying to reach for. And I have lofty goals.
Yeah.
And in order to achieve them, I need to be sleeping well, need to have excellent nutrition, and I need to make sure that I'm getting my studies done. And it directly inhibits all three of those. You sleep much more poorly. You do not recall as much, you do not retain as much information when studying, and you make poor nutrition choices. And those are three things I can't afford right now. I need to be staying full momentum, one direction forward towards my goals. And that's going to require me to make some sacrifices. And I'm prepared to make those sacrifices this year. Because there's nothing else that I want in this world apart from, becoming, it's sort of cliche to say, but, world champion. I want to excel at
Black
jiu-jitsu.
Belt world champion.
Yes, excel at jiu-jitsu beyond the constraints that society or myself would put on me, you know, exceed all of that, you know, whether it's DNA or whatever you want to say, like the limits that are on me, I want to completely exceed those.
Did you watch the Mike Masumichi flow grappling documentary?
No, I've watched a bit of the stuff that he does, and his Berimbolo game, like I just watched 4 minutes of him drilling it, and he did, you know, like I think 13 different variations on it or something that I was just watching. It was amazing. He's got some of the most incredible cerebral jiu-jitsu I've ever seen, but I haven't watched his documentary.
Should watch it, I think, just on mindset and
Really?
yeah, overcoming things like losing and then winning. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's been at it since he was a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like full time, like
Yeah, and he's 3-time world champion now, man.
3-time black belt world champion.
Yeah, and that was not done until he did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
And his sister also won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the documentary, she's like, "Yeah, I did it for him. You know, I had to do it for him."
I had a really weird interaction with his sister once. I was putting some salt in my water. It was at an Abu Dhabi trial.
Okay.
And to like, you know, rehydrate after weighing in. And she's like, "Did you bring enough for everybody?" And I was like, "What? This is salt? What?" And then she like said nothing after that. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
The way she said it to you.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh, well, you can have as much salt as you want, I guess." Yeah. Yeah, but no, he's really, and that's something I should do a lot more of, is studying the individuals. Because right now I've been highly focused on studying Gordon and Danaher's DVDs. But, you know, I would like to switch over to studying more of, you know, individual grapplers, you know, getting their stories and seeing how they handle certain situations.
So speaking of that, which guys do you look up to? Which competitors?
JT Torres is definitely, you know, top of the heap in terms of guys that I look up to. And
why?
You know, he's done it better than just about anybody else. You know, if you talk to him how he did it early on, I mean, shoot, the guy got his black belt in 4 years, only training 2 or 3 times a week. And his big thing was he'd watch a lot of jiu-jitsu, something I need to do a lot more of. He would examine the grips and he would try to utilize those. And that was his whole thing. His rate of progress was insane given his rate of training. And nowadays, you know, he runs an amazing academy. He's on top of the competitive scene and still has an amazing persona on social media. And, you know, he's the champ of the ADCCs. You know, he's highly competitive. He's the fight to win belt. You know, so he has.
It's interesting, right? He won the ADCC after he opened up a school, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, he's done so many things that I look up to and want to achieve. So that's who I'd say is at the top of my podium. And then if you take a step down below that, you know, Mikey Musumeci, Keenan Cornelius, Josh Hanger, you know, those guys all kind of, you know, fit into that high achieving area of jiu-jitsu that I would like to get to. But JT stands out in that he's running his own school, still on top of the competitive scene, running a great kids program too. I mean, there's so many different things that he's achieving. I'm sure he's not achieving them alone, but, you know, I think he sets the strongest example for young grapplers to come up and sort of, you know, look at him and be like, "Oh, that's where I want to be." You know, so that's what I would say is probably the guy I look up to the most. And then apart from that, you know, the Jock Hanger, Keenan Cornelius, and Mikey Musumeci would be the guys that are on that second tier. Yeah.
What's next for you? It's 2020.
Yeah, it's 2020, man. What's coming up next? I am headed back to Colorado for a couple days. Going to hang out, teach some morning classes. Really excited about that. I've been very in-depth studies of Danaher's triangle and armbar systems. So I'm going to teach 2 classes on those. And then Wednesday, January 8th, so less than a week, I'm going to hop in my car, drive to Amarillo, Texas, and do some training there. And then
what's in Amarillo, Texas?
So I'm going to do a road trip
to
get to my match in Miami instead of flying out there. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a good challenge.
Have you been to Brazil?
No, I've not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of the that's on the that's on the list for sure.
Got to put something on the schedule, some kind of competition or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been a jiu-jitsu
2020.
guy, for 10 years, and I still haven't been to Brazil.
Especially like with a guy like Amal.
Yeah,
the Mix and Elliott and all those guys.
Yeah, and that's what they've done. So hopefully, an adventure will bring me down there. But as we were talking about, you know, in my history, it's been almost exclusively in Colorado. You know, I haven't left apart from competitions much at all. So this trip for me is going to be stepping out of my comfort zone in a very big way. And I think that's something that my personality, my development needs. Because for the past 5 weeks, I've been here. You know, I've been living back at home. I've been training my butt off. It's been a lot of hard work. but I haven't had to cook, been very moderate other tasks that I've had to get done. It's just been training hard, working out hard, and eating a lot of food. It's been great, but it's a comfortable place. Now I'm expecting the past 5 weeks to have prepared me for these upcoming 8 weeks, because it's going to be a long road trip that I've planned out. So it's going to be Amarillo to Dallas, Dallas to Houston, Houston to Baton Rouge. I was expecting to go to New Orleans, but there's actually a really big college football game going on there the day that I wanted to arrive. So it's probably not a good bet. So Baton Rouge.
Too many people, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm sure the hotels are going to be
right.
outrageous. And then to heading to this place called Panama City Beach.
Okay.
And I have a friend out there, Thor, who I'm going to be doing a seminar with.
Cool.
Very excited. Going to do some front headlocks.
What's the name of his gym?
Hillian Gracie, Panama City,
okay.
I believe.
Okay, cool.
Should know that. That's what I think. I think it's Hillian Gracie, Panama City.
Cool.
And then spent a couple days there with him. We've actually got a scuba trip lined up. And I actually got an interesting fact about Boulder. There are more scuba certified individuals in Boulder than any other city in the U.S. Isn't that wild?
Why?
I have no idea.
There's no water, right?
It's 1,000 miles
There's
from any
rivers.
stinking beach. It's crazy, but yet the statistic holds.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm scuba certified. I got scuba certified in December of 2011, so a long time ago, and I haven't been in the water for 9 years. But I talked to Thor, and he's like, "Oh, let's do a scuba trip.
Let's do it."
So I'm going in the water.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to go have that happen. And then from Panama City, I'm going to go to Tampa, and I got a buddy of mine, Josh LeDuc, who has been helping me arrange seminars and other work and trying to mentor me into turning jiu-jitsu into a personal business for me. And so I'll be spending a couple days with him in Tampa, and then drive to Miami, go have my match with Cody Steele, who's been, forefront in my mind. I've been thinking a lot about it. Every time I'm exhausted while doing cardio the other day or getting my butt beat up in training, it's like, I've got this monster I'm getting ready for, and I'm going to make dang sure that I've done more to prepare for this than anything else I've done so far.
Nice.
Yeah, especially in the past 2 or 3 years. I've worked harder these past 5 weeks than I have in a very long time, largely due because I've been healthy.
Nice.
And then after Miami, I'm going to go up to Atlanta. I'm going to spend some time with my buddy Tim Leslie and compete at the Atlanta Open, start racking up my points, because you need 80 ranking points to compete in the Worlds. I have 43, so if things go well, I may well qualify that day. You win your weight and your open weight, it's a bunch of points.
Nice.
And then from there, I'm going to go to Charlotte and spend some time with my friend John Piper, who runs an academy out there, and hopefully have a chance to go bug Lucas Lepre a little bit, because he's out in that city as well.
Nice.
Go get smashed around.
Nice.
Yeah, you saw that match, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's on YouTube too. So if you want to see me get beat up by Lucas Lepre, go ahead and check it out. Yeah,
Cool.
All right. Match against Lucas. That was a really tough match. I mean, that whole preparation for the Mundials in 2019, cut weight the right way. Finally, I'd done lightweight in 2018.
That was
that
was after ADCC trials, right?
Yeah,
a few months after that.
Yeah, that was so ADCC trials 2019 happened. I was at peak of my accomplishments and whatnot. I was doing great, peak ego, and got smashed in won one match at Pan Am's, and then Levi Jones Leary flipped me over with a berimbolo, took my back, and it was like the most gentle beating I've ever received. And then 2.5 months after that, I won a match at Worlds, and then fought Lucas Lepre and received the most heinous beating I've ever received in jiu-jitsu. It was a really, really rough match. There were some mistakes that I made in my preparation for it. I cut the weight really effectively, so I was able to eat a little bit the day of. But my warm-up, I really messed up. I kind of lost track of time, and I cut way too much weight. So I checked my weight, and I was right on, and I did a little warm-up, and I was going a little harder than I should have, and I didn't check the time to go weigh in, and so I weighed in late.
Okay.
And I stepped on the scale, and I was 165. I'd cut 3 pounds in my warm-up. And I sit down, I start drinking water. I made the poor decision of having fruit when I should have had something like a smoothie or, a Gatorade, Powerade, anything like that. I was having fruit, which is a terrible mistake. I had a protein bar. I wasn't eating the right things. And I had 7 minutes from weigh-in to fight. I remember I was eating a Lara bar or something, and the lady comes up and she's like, "John Combs, are you ready?" And I was like, "No, I'm not ready." And had my first fight with Jeremy Jackson. Really tough match. I was winning 6-0. and then a minute left, I
saw that match.
Oh, I completely gassed. Like it was one of the most gassed out I've ever been in a match. And he came back, and it was 4-6. He almost passed in the waning seconds, but I held him off, and I got the win. Yeah. And my reward for that was fighting Lucas Lepre. And it was about 2 hours in between that
six time?
He was the 5-time world champion before, and now the 6-time world champion.
6-time now,
Yeah. So he, the biggest lesson I took away from my match with him is the absolute necessity of stripping pant grips. So it's something I get away with a lot when going with less skilled individuals is I can kind of work around the grips they set on me. But somebody like Lucas Lepre, you cannot let him have a grip on your pants. And so he pulled guard, got some grip set up on me, and swept me right away. So within 30 seconds, I was
when
swept.
You do your training with them in Charlotte, it was Charlotte, right? Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, you're gonna make sure you do that.
I'm gonna try to keep my pants clean. Yes, which has been, since I've been training here at Northridge, that's been one of the things I've been focused on the most is keeping my pants clean. Because if you let somebody that's bigger and stronger and just as good at you have grips on your pants and you don't address them within a second or two, they're gonna be whipping you around. They get a good angle on you, and you better be framing and ready to go. But that's been the thing I've been working on the most these past couple weeks is just keeping the grips off me, not letting anybody have a grip on my pants, and if they set a grip on my collar, addressing it with my legs. And so with Lucas, it was just what he did that was really awesome. So he swept me. I was on the bottom. I set up a really nice X guard. I had all my hands in a really good position, and he did something I'll never forget. He grabbed my cuff here. So I had an X guard set, and I was trying to sweep him, but you need to turn your body to actually put them down to their hands and knees. And since he had the grip of my arm,
you couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was shocking. And so I thought I was going to get this quick sweep. Didn't work out. He passed my guard, and that was the end. I mean, it was just a rout from then on out. Like, I was behind and couldn't catch up, largely because as he was moving around me, I wasn't working to strip his pants. I was just trying to keep facing him, and that's what let him rack up all these points. I mean, at the end of it, it was 45-0, and he ended up submitting me with a doing that, the Ezekiel choke. Yeah, so he ended up submitting me with that, and then went on to win the whole tournament. But great lesson for me.
Yeah, so you can the last stop is going to be in Charlotte.
Okay. Then from Charlotte, heading on back. I might make a stop in Atlanta or a few other places, but the goal is to.
So it's all road trip.
Yeah, nice, yeah. 8 weeks, man. I'm really excited. I think it's
8 weeks, huh? 2 months.
Yeah, so I'll be leaving January 8th, and I should be getting back to Boulder around February 26th, 27th, 28th. Still not sure when I'm going to be getting back to town, but yeah, going all the way to Charlotte and then coming all the way back. But it should be, a challenging adventure for me, and that's what I'm after. I want to get pushed here a little bit, get out of my comfort zone. And I think right now, after, I'm fully healed, I'm feeling great, I'm heavy, which, means I'm feeling great and I'm happy. And, get out of my comfort zone and go challenge myself a little bit while having some fun in the South. Should be a really good time.
Well, congrats, man, on how far you've come,
Yeah, it's been a really...
last decade.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu has really defined this decade for me, man. Like, January 12th of 2010, I started, and here I am almost exactly a year later, still focused on jiu-jitsu and trying to make this dream of achieving happiness with jiu-jitsu come true.
Yeah.
So,
what advice would you give a up-and-coming competitor?
Study more, train less. And that would be, especially nowadays with what BJJ Fanatics is doing, something that just wasn't available to me. And you were asking me what I would have changed as a younger guy, would have been to study more, train less. But
for your college and jiu-jitsu.
But there was there was some information out there,
right,
but it's hard to really recomprehend how barren the instructional arena was back in 2010.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, you can go on YouTube and find 100 times more than what was available.
Yeah, you can go inside the gym, before the guys are even competing.
Yeah, exactly. And nowadays you have these amazing instructionals, like the Danaher DVDs, his submission systems, his fundamental systems, Gordon's stuff that he's producing. I want to look at Gary Tonen's Exit the System. There's a limitless amount of information out there for people to process. And if you really want to become skilled at jiu-jitsu, you can't just have, beastly subconscious understanding. And that was really what I was doing for the longest time is I was tough and I would just let my instincts guide me. But our instincts aren't really that great. You need to have a firm foundation of knowledge that's cold, and you know it no matter what. And that's why I've been, trying to study these DVDs and, really putting it in my head the same way I would do with in college. I was really focused on trying to incorporate a subject matter into my head. I would study it in a very specific way. And I've been trying to study these DVDs in that same very specific way. And I think it's finally getting into my brain in a point where it's not, kind of fuzzy, but it's down and it's cold. And I find myself when I'm training nowadays that I'll actually be pulling out that information, like making sure my grip is fully set elbow to hand on the thigh, and then I fall onto my elbow, and I do all the right things in the right moment.
Cleaning your movements.
Exactly. It's one thing to know something kind of fuzzy when somebody's asking you a question. It's a completely different thing to do it when you're 9.5 minutes into a match and you need to get that advantage. So that's what I would tell up-and-coming grapplers is spend more time studying, spend less time hard training, and focus more on the cerebral side of this sport. Because, you put too much into your physicality, you will get burned out. You need to an extent.
For sure. I mean, that's the old school way, right? That's the old school way.
Yeah, and there's old school.
Well, every day, it's a part of it, right? Like the fight,
you
makes
need
you tough.
to do it.
For sure.
You do.
But that's all we did back in the day, back in the 90s and stuff.
Man. And that's what in the comp class with Easton's, that's where it really shined through. We were there to smash each other, and that's what we were doing. That was a really, I really enjoyed those days. Yeah,
one of the Mikey Mitsumishi documentary that I really the stuff I took away from it were just the amount of studying and drilling he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, like, when he had to find a way to win, he was down by, I don't know what happened, 2 points or something, like with like 30 seconds left at the finals of the Black Belt World Championship, and he blacked out, and somehow, and when he woke up, he was on top, and he talked about that scenario a few times happening.
Yeah, at least got to have that knowledge so ingrained deeply in
So ingrained.
Yeah.
Those movements have to be so ingrained. It's already too late, right? If it's not in your subconscious.
Yeah, exactly.
The fabric of your being, those movements.
Yeah. And I think there are different ways that people can incorporate that.
Right.
And I don't think that just drilling the technique and talking about it in class is enough for me. I need to be writing it out. And
different people learn different ways.
Yes, exactly. Right. And what I've been doing is taking notes, organizing those notes, and then from those organized notes coming up with questions. And those questions are trying to pull out the information, like what are the 6 steps of the armbar system? Like if you're on top trying to pin somebody, what are the steps you need to do there? And so sort of trying to I forget the right. Oh, I don't know exactly what I'd say, but those questions pull out the information that I need in the moment, so that if I need the information, I can ask myself a question, like, okay, this is the answer for what I need to do. And if somebody has a grip on my collar, what do I do? 2 hands on it, extend away like a squat, break that grip.
The scenarios.
Yes, exactly.
Break down those scenarios. The guy, I do this, he does that.
Yes.
And keep kind of going down that rabbit hole.
A series of what if then propositions. So if they do this, then I should do this. And that's, in my mind at least, how I think
for sure.
Jiu-jitsu works best being broken down. And it's like millions of those in terms of the infinite complexity of our sport.
Right.
It's amazing how many you need to have. I mean, some more important than others, like how to escape the back mount. That's something you have to know. Sure. But as you
start to play, you start to develop your kind of game. There's those possibilities around those positions, right?
Exactly.
So you start to clean that and start to perfect those.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice, man.
More information out there than one person can ever understand. So that's why you got to go get your pen and your notebook, bro. Let's go get studying. There's infinite information out there to process.
Jiu-jitsu is amazing, man.
Oh,
it just never ends.
No, it doesn't.
You're in the heat right now. You're in the war zone. You know?
Yes.
But man, just for the rest of your life, from little kids, you see it, right? It's just man.
That's a great vector for improving our lives. And as we kind of briefly touched on, I've ebbed and flow into some not so great places, and jiu-jitsu's always been there to help ebb me back towards the right path, the better path, where you're focused on your goals and you're doing good things for yourself, and that leads to you doing good things for your community, and that leads to the world being a better place. And I think jiu-jitsu is a great vector for pushing more of us onto that positive vibe in our lives, because there are many other forces trying to pull us away from that.
For sure.
And I think jiu-jitsu is probably the best means you have of getting yourself back onto the right path.
What motivates you? What pushes you to be your best? Where does that come from?
You know,
What's in your heart?
I mean, a lot of desire to see growth within myself and others, and it's not exactly a pure or like pleasant thing, or you know, a desire to help others. It's somewhat, to be honest, a selfish, like a dark place. Like I want to see how great my jiu-jitsu can become, and
Where do you think that comes from? Is your dad a wrestler?
No, I'm the black sheep in my family.
Okay.
Nobody else really ever.
Was your mom in
No,
athletic? Okay.
No. My oldest sister did some cross country. My brother
Okay.
did some high jump, but this has always been, you know, it's been a weird thing. My parents would have.
Okay.
If you told my parents in '91 what I would have done with the first 28 years of my life, they wouldn't have believed you. They would have said, "There's no way that's not happening." But like I was saying, it's something I want to prove to myself. You know, that I do have the ability to stand on my own 2 feet, that I am far tougher and far more capable than I ever would have thought possible. And I mean, there's some other stuff rolling around up there that's hard to really express in words. But it does come from a selfish place. And I think that if you're going to commit yourself to the amount of work it's going to take to rise above the incredibly competitive field, like I think at Pan Am's, I'm going to do middleweight, and they're going to be 45 world-class black belts. I know there are 20 scrubs, but 45 tough, talented, world-class guys that any one of them could win this dang thing. And if you want to tell yourself that you're going to outwork every one of them, which that's the only way to win, there's no other way to win that field than to outwork every single one of them. From the second you wake up to the second you go to bed, you have to outwork them. You have to get to bed earlier. You have to study harder, and you have to train more. And unless there's something not, and for me, like I said, it comes from a sort of selfish place.
I mean, I think at this level, right? It's all ego. It is totally.
Yeah.
You have to be selfish.
You do.
I mean, when Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't a jiu-jitsu guy, but he missed his dad's funeral, right?
Yeah.
And things like, you have to be totally selfish. You have to be all about you and your goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And
to be successful, you know?
Yeah, and hopefully through the pursuit of that goal, you can help others.
For sure. No, for sure.
The thing that I'm really excited about.
No doubt about that.
When I go back to Boulder, you know, all the studying that I've done here on the triangle and armbar and closed guard systems, I'm going to share with my students there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really want to share the fruits of my labor with as many people as possible. But that isn't 100% of what drives me. That's 5 to 10% of what drives me. What's really driving me is that sort of that primal instinct to rise above all others, and for no other reason than to do it in that. And, you know, that really pushes me and guides me forward. Like this match with Cody, you know, I really want to see how far I can push myself and how great I can push my own jiu-jitsu. And every time I'm feeling tired or I'm ready to, you know, take it down a notch, I'm just like, no, this guy's not doing that. He's pushing himself every day. And the only way I'm going to know for dang sure that I have a better chance of winning is if I'm pushing harder. And that doesn't just mean training harder, and it means getting to bed earlier, studying more, drilling more, establishing more connections with people. Like there are many different ways you can push towards that goal, and they don't all have to be beating yourself down. And that's sort of the thing I've been trying to work away from over the past 3 or 4 years is, you know, less crazy hard training, more studying, more drilling, more communicating with others, and still trying to train pretty hard when I can, especially when I'm healthy. These past couple of years, I've been spent a lot of time injured, but pretty much fully healed from all those. My body feels great, and, you know, just ready to keep working hard.
Congrats, man. Congrats on all your hard work.
Thanks, Professor.
It's been a big pleasure to see you grow and just kind of, just to see you do it, man. Live it, and I really wish you the best.
Yes, absolutely.
On this path, and keep being selfish until you get what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll keep doing
You're a great guy, and for sure, you're gonna give more than 1,000% back.
Yes, that's the end goal is that. But these next couple years,
no, you got to do you.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
and I wish you the best for that.
Yeah. 'Cause 28.
You're a great guy.
We got 6 years to really find my
as an American Brazilian,
yes.
also as an American Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
it's really great to watch. Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Gi, I know Gi.
Yes, both of them, not just one.
Jiu-jitsu guy, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the first 6 months of this year. I want to make waves in both. So see where my hard work gets me. And, you know, I'm just excited to get back and work hard. That's really where I'm at right now.
That's it.
You know, and thrilled to have had you host me here. That was a great TAC-Fit class.
Awesome.
You know, I want to really incorporate, especially that warm-up at the beginning of class. Like, I think that could...
Recovery, right? Speaking of recovery things.
Yeah.
How it can improve your jiu-jitsu, your game.
Yeah, I remember I was talking with one of your students, well, a former student of Easton's, Omar.
Omar, yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying how, like, there was a certain point where you weren't even able to walk.
Yeah.
And how TAC-Fit really brought you back into being a...
It's hard for me to put my seatbelt on in the car.
Oh, my God.
Just twisting, it would just hurt. Everything would hurt.
And so what was the time frame between you being unable to put your seatbelt on to where now you're... I mean, would you say you're 100% physically capable?
I'm not 100%, you know, but for sure, I'm like, man, I'm good, you know. Maybe I feel like I'm, you know, honestly better than when I was in my 20s. I couldn't do one push-up when I got into the UFC.
Wow.
Just from overuse and just, you know, I didn't understand things. So, yeah, I feel like I got a second chance, you know, to really do these things. But I think talk about performance, increasing your performance and your capabilities, like those kinds of things are like a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the drilling and all that stuff, but also the TAC-Fit, the body awareness things, to cleaning your technique, right? It's all in there, right? Yeah. It's all in there.
Pruning your neurons, right? Yeah.
That's it. Learning. So learning increases your learning.
Oh yeah, and
it's just breaking things down even to like it was like a lower level, right? Simpler level.
Yeah. So you did a post, I forget when it was, but it was with Scott Sonnen, and you showed something on a board that actually really stuck with me. It was as your Vmax increases, you want to change your breathing. This is something I've been thinking a lot about, how like trying to use just your nose in and out, and as through like your lowest level of Vmax, then as your Vmax goes up, you use your nose, then out through your mouth, and then as it gets to its maximal level, you use just your mouth. And something I've discovered recently is that I was for a long time primarily a mouth breather. And I think that's a common thing through jiu-jitsu and a lot of athletes.
Right? Yep.
Yeah. And there's this Instagram channel called Osteotropics or something along those lines, and where he talks, he makes a pretty convincing argument about how we're designed to take our tongue and press it against the roof of our mouth, and that draws the midface forward, makes your nasal cavity bigger, and makes it easier to breathe through your nose. So that's something I've been focused on a lot, is trying to
hit some cranial nerves right in your mouth when you're touching the top of the roof of your mouth.
Trying to push that, you know.
Probably makes things just even work better as well, right? Besides, of course, the breathing is going to affect everything, right?
Yes.
But everything.
My anxiety, it has helped out tremendously. And I think that the thing that I assume it has the most to do with is that I don't think we're that great at regulating our oxygen levels if we're breathing slowly through our mouth. But when we breathe slowly through our nose, I think we're very good at regulating our oxygen levels. And I think a lot of anxiety comes from a lot of energy, but not the breath that you need. And you're breathing through your mouth, and you think you're getting
the
oxygen.
type of breathing, right? The type of breathing.
But like
even like the sniff breathing, it's not just the regular nose breath, but just the type of breathing.
Yeah. And just while I've been out here, you know, I'm kind of an anxious driver. And I've been practicing, you know, just the nose breathing as I've been driving. I'm like, wow, my heart feels good. I'm not tense. Like, this is wild. I actually feel good. I'm flowing here. Yeah. And, you know, that's been a huge thing I've been thinking about, is that nose. But as I've been training and when I do my cardio, I think a lot about that Vmax thing where I try to keep it in the nose as long as you can, then nose and mouth. Yeah. If you got to do just mouth, but try to get back to where you're breathing through your nose and your mouth. And that really changed a lot of my jiu-jitsu. So. You never know what you're going to post is going to change somebody's life, right? Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I look forward to seeing you one day, TAC-Fit certified, down the road.
I want to do that, but that's, you know, why I'm kind of putting off the whole trying to start up my own academy for some time. Sure. Is, man, there's so many things I want to put together before I do that, and obviously the TAC-Fit's one of them. I think that really has the potential to change lives.
Yeah, sure, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm really excited about the future, and you know, maybe seeing more of me around here.
For sure.
That's definitely the game plan right now.
Good. Well, good luck with everything.
Yes.
And how can people find you?
So Instagram is probably the best way to get a hold of me. At Combs Jiu-Jitsu. I'm pretty good now at getting back.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. Oh, Combs Jiu-Jitsu. Yes. At getting back to people on my Instagram DMs. Facebook, I'm not quite as in on. And then if you want to send me an email in terms of sponsorship opportunities or seminars, johntcombs175@gmail.com. And yeah, those are probably the two best ways to get a hold of me, is either Instagram or my email. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you, brother.
You betcha, man. I had a blast.
Man.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Professor.